Hello, this is teddygaming and welcome back to another review on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TMNT The Sandman Adventures issue number 6 and yeah, this one actually felt like an actual episode from the show with like a 3-part structure to everything, and I don't know, something about it felt more like an episode of the show, but the artwork didn't really help it to feel like the show, that makes sense. So I got think that this one will be a unique one to really describe, because on one hand I do like it because it does feel like the show, but at the same time the artwork doesn't really look like the show, if that makes sense. So we do have quite a bit to talk about for this episode. Okay, so the actual story itself has to do with Chrome Dome, and I must admit I don't know too much about Chrome Dome or anything about his character or anything like that. I seen one episode with him, and that was like ages ago. It was the Knights of the Rogue episode, so I don't really know too much about him, and I know that he does have some sort of like a fan base or something like that, but again, I know very little about him, and I know that in this episode, or this comic, they do reference him dying in the Knights of the Rogue episode, but I don't remember that whatsoever. So I was going to do this issue completely blind and was expecting to see something interesting and great with Chrome Dome, and I must admit, I enjoyed it for the most part. And I think my biggest problem with Chrome Dome in this issue is the fact that he's not Rex, just because when I think of robots from TMNT, I think of Rex instead of Chrome Dome. But yeah, I think that's my problem, is that I wish that it was Rex instead of Chrome Dome, but either way, it was still quite enjoyable. Now, with the actual issue itself, we do get to see the Turtles watching TV, and that's when I do go on to watch the election. We do get to see Chrome Dome comes out and announces that he's going to be running for the election, and yeah, it's okay. It's a good setup, I would say. But then on the next page, we do get to see a few interesting bits where we do get to see Chrome Dome at a lot of different events. One's for a women campaign, something like that. One's for a an anxiety, things like social anxiety or something like that. And we've got to see Vern there. And I think that this was really played into the creative elements of things, and really showed how fun they can get. And I feel it's a pretty decent joke and stuff like that. And I can't say too much more than that. So then after that, we do get to see the Turtles, do see them following him, and that's when we do get to find out that the Professor von Rai, he's rebuilt Chrome Dome, and is trying to use him to basically control the city, but use it as a way to basically enhance his technology, enhance everyday social life and stuff like that. And to that, I've got to say, it's just why didn't he run for office instead of Chrome Dome? And I do think that's a little bit weird, but yeah. And we do get to see the Turtles to jump in, and we do get to see Chrome Dome actually becomes evil and starts to fight the Turtles. I thought it was okay, and I think that this here was the part where I felt like this was really an episode, just because this really did feel like the middle point of an episode, and something about it was just so great about it. I can't describe it, but it was just amazing that it had that feeling of it, and yeah, that's all I needed to make this episode or issue perfect. So then after that, we do get to see Professor gives the Turtles a microchip to place in Chrome Dome to shut them down, and then that's when we do go into the next section of the comic. So in the next section, we do get to see the Turtles watching Chrome Dome doing his election bit at a campaign, I think it is, and we do get to see April talks about him, saying that he's not really qualified to it and he shouldn't really be running because he's sort of disqualified from everything. So that's when we do get to see Chrome Dome becomes evil again, starts to fight the Turtles, and we do win, and the Turtles beat him and jump down, and that's pretty much it for this issue. So yeah, I must admit, overall, I do feel as though that this whole issue has been really great, and again, it does feel a lot like an episode of the show, and that was just amazing. Now overall, I'd say the story was pretty great, and did really feel like the TV show, which is amazing. But with that being said, I do feel as though that there was parts about the story that could have been longer, and I do feel as though it would have been beneficial for this one to be over two issue story or something like that. And I do think for majority of these issues going forward should probably be 2 issues, because I do think that the one story per issue thing is working, but at the same time I do feel as though they are rushing a lot of stuff, and there is a lot of places they could explore and develop. But I think that what they're trying to go for, it works well enough, but there is a lot more they could do to make it a lot more better, and actually a lot more the actual show itself. But I think that what they're doing so far is pretty great. Now overall I have to say that the artwork is really great and works really well for this issue and this universe and stuff like that. And I do like all the little attention to details which they do put in, like for the characters, like all the little lines. I mean, I think that like this scene, especially on Splinter, with all the little lines for his fur, it looks really great and amazing. But with that being said, I do feel as though that like their artwork isn't used to their full potential, and I do feel as though they're being underused. And I think the reason for that is just because looking at some of their previous works on other comics, I'd say that like looking at their covers in particular, where I'd see like their art style, it's really annoying just because they be able to show that they can draw in so many different amazing art styles and have their own unique art style and then go to like different universes and then like draw in like those specific art styles, and I think that works really well. And even seeing how they colour the actual issues themselves, I think it's really interesting and fascinating. But when looking at their artwork here, it's a little bit annoying just because they're very limited to like drawing in this universe, and I'd say that's really holding them back, I'd say, just because I do feel as though like they have a lot of potential to really go further with the actual stories themselves and add like a lot of detail and stuff like that. And I would like to see like them draw like an actual issue in their own art style, because I think that could be like really interesting and fascinating. And I do think that the fact that it's like done in this universe art style is holding them back quite a bit. And I think that like the main reason for that is just because it does look like the art style, but at the same time it doesn't. And I have to say that like, this is not like an actual complaint for them themselves, because I have to say that this complaint just go out to like other artists on this comic book. And I have to say that the one exception to this was Dan Schoen, who does make the actual issue look like the actual like TV show itself. And I'd say that like, even though the artwork for this issue is really great, there is parts of it that I can tell that like it's not this universe, if that makes sense. And I think that like that's like the big drawback from this, is the fact that because it doesn't look exactly like the cartoon, it does make it a bit hard to basically like say that like this is directly in that universe. I think that's like the biggest complaint which I have to say, but again like that's not really a big complaint on their part, because they do an amazing job and the artwork is really great and amazing. But I do think that they're held back quite a bit because they're drawing a certain art style, and then the art style isn't exactly like the cartoon, and it's really hard to say that like this is the like that universe. So hopefully that does make sense, and it's not really criticising to the point where like, oh yeah, the artwork's bad, but it's just like you have potential to do so much and yet you're limited to so little, and I think that's the biggest problem with it. But yeah, I must admit overall I do feel as though this whole issue has been really great, and I can't wait for the next issue because, you know, Shreddercon, and oh boy, that could be the best issue ever. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this issue. Do you like it? Do you not? And yeah, that's it for today, guys. If you doesn't, please share, like, subscribe, and all that stuff. Goodbye, yo, bye.